Okay, this week we are starting over. Okay, so this week we are continuing Spooky Month, and we're diving into a horror classic that is Poltergeist, a film that explores ghosts and supernatural events and being kidnapped by a ghost and crazy toy clowns, but also plays on our childhood fears and suburbia and the hidden secrets of suburbia, if you will. Those are kind of the themes, and grief and parenthood and things like that, I think. But also it's a surprisingly well-made film. It's a very, we have a famous director who produced it, and his fingerprints are all over it as well. I'm very excited to talk about it, Zach.
Well, Hunter, I'm excited to talk about it too. However, I need to ask you a question. So I'm going to ask you this question. What is Poltergeist good?
Let's find out.
All right, let's do it. But is it good podcast? Yeah. Hey.
What you doing? How's life?
Life good. Just chilling. What you doing?
I'm sipping on my espresso.
Oh, cool.
So I guess let's just get this out of the way. What are you sipping on? Tea?
Mint tea.
So let's get this out of the way right now. You can't see me still, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So this should be fun. So my Wi-Fi sucks. So the platform that we're using is kind of slow on my end. So Zach cannot see me, so I can do whatever the hell I want to.
You could be butt naked cooking bacon right now, and I wouldn't.
I could.
I might be able to hear it, actually.
You have no idea.
Welcome to the But Is It Good podcast.
Anyway, I am your host.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I'm your host, Hunter Callahan.
And I am your host, Zach Olson. Hunter's butt naked cooking bacon.
That's right.
As far as I know.
As
Hands
far
up.
as you know.
Yeah. As far as I know.
I can see you, Zach, and you, in fact, are butt naked cooking bacon.
I am not. I'm sitting here clothed, sipping on tea.
Yes. Real quick before we jump in, Zach, how's life? How's your week? How's your weekend?
Which do you want to hear about? I'm only going to tell you about one.
How's life?
Oh, life is. I'm alive. Yeah, we're here. We made it.
Damn. Now I'm really curious about how your weekend was. I'll never know.
Well, shit.
Damn it.
How was your week? Not your weekend. I don't give a fuck about your weekend.
I actually am going to talk about my weekend because it has to do with movies. But my week was fine. It was good. I have a very busy week coming up. A lot of shows and rehearsals and stuff. But my weekend, guess what I did last night, Zach? Real quick. I know we're going off on a tangent, but real quick, I have to talk about it.
You came to a movie theater that's like 2 miles away from me and then didn't come see me, and you saw Taylor Swift's Eras Tour movie.
I did. Me and Hannah had a date night. Went to Nina and Rafi's, actually, which is so good.
Without me?
Well, I said we have a date night, so that implies that it's, I'm sorry. It won't happen again. I'll never go on a date with my wife again. I'll always
Every bicycle could use a third wheel. Every single, Then
it'd be a tricycle. More stable.
More stable relationship if you bring me along. See? If you want to salvage your marriage, bring me on all your dates.
It's in shambles ever since I started doing this godforsaken podcast. That's funny. No, we went up to our old stomping grounds and it's your current stomping grounds. I miss it dearly, but went up to Nina Rafi's and then finally went to see a movie at Madison Yards. And it was probably the most unique theater experience I've ever had. We saw Taylor Swift's Eras Tour. and I've never seen a concert film in theaters before. And so we were going in, and I was like, I'm not sure what this is going to be like. Do we dance? Do we sing along? Do we clap? Or do I just watch the film? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Did
you really have those thoughts? Because I would go into
serious.
a movie theater and think, I'm watching a movie. I will not disturb other people.
I'm serious. I had those thoughts. And we did all three. Actually, at first, it was pretty subdued. Okay, like it was just like, oh, cool. We were kind of bobbing along, singing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And then the theater at Madison Yards, as you know, this has a bar, and so a group down in like on the front rows, we were like 3 or 4 rows back up on the like auditorium seating. They had some drinks. They were feeling good. They started getting up, dancing, and then by the end of it, they were down on the floor in front of the screen, like 7 or 8 people just in a group, just dancing, yelling, singing. And we were singing along, dancing in our seats. The only time I will say that I got annoyed was that at some point in the concert, everyone did their phone lights or whatever.
What? And then you can't see the screen. Like,
well, I'm saying like no, like in the concert. In the concert,
oh,
happened.
Okay.
But then people did it in the theater.
Right. Yeah. That's
and
what
people
I thought
behind
you were
us, and and I was like, that's annoying. I don't like that. So
yeah,
that was the only time.
Who the fuck are you doing that for? Like, I understand like vibing and like dancing and singing, but who are you shining your light for?
Well, that's the thing.
Taylor's not there.
After every song, I looked ahead. I was like, do we clap? Do we clap for?
Okay. Oh goodness.
But it was fun.
I don't. I've seen videos of people like big vibing, like going crazy on the floor right in front of the screen. Girls like crawling on the ground, crying, like get intense stuff. I don't have a problem with this until you do it at the theater right next to me when I'm trying to watch Killers of the Flower Moon this week.
Yeah.
In which case, you just better be able to run faster than me. Because if you disturb my movie viewing experience, you're gonna catch these hands.
It was funny because there were some people, like there was a couple girls who were like dressed up, and then there was like a choo-choo train line, whatever that Mamba line, whatever.
A choo-choo train line. I like that.
Well, he came up and he was like, "We're doing a train." This guy came up like through each other. He's like, "We're doing a train. Come on." And
in the theater,
he was like, "You better get your fucking asses up and dance, you bitches."
In the theater?
I'm not even kidding. He yelled that. And it was funny because there were things that, like, I guess you do at the concerts that I didn't know you did. Like on the song Delicate, great song. The same for the best. There's a part
you
where
don't need to
like,
fucking sing it. Just get
no,
to
I'm saying there's a thing where it goes like, he was like you for me. And then people go, 1, 2, 3, let's go, bitch. And I didn't know that was a thing. And the entire theater screamed it. And I was like, what is going on? It was wild. It was unique. Anyway, that was my.
Did it change your life?
No.
Was
I would have loved to have gone to the show, but this was. I mean, it was good. It was cool. It was really fun to see.
Would you nominate it for a Golden Good?
No.
Then why are we talking about it for 10 minutes?
We haven't been talking about it for 10 minutes. It's been about 2 minutes.
Well, 2 minutes of my life that I'll never get back, bitch.
I thought you
1,
liked
2, 3, let's go, bitch. Let's talk about this movie.
All right. Zach, do you want to go first? It's my episode, so I'm going to make you go first. Poltergeist. Okay. Poltergeist. I'm sorry, dude. I have a lot of energy. You better keep up.
I'm keeping up. Look at me, keeping up.
Can you still not see me?
No, I can't see I can't see shit. I'm just looking at me, doing like a Pauly D thing. That's his name, right? From Jersey Shore?
Yeah, cabs are here. Okay, Zach, your first reaction.
For Poltergeist. Gosh. Okay. So before I looked it up and confirmed my suspicion, I had a suspicion that this was a Steven Spielberg film in all of its essence, minus the fact that he didn't direct it. And I was correct. So he it's based on his story. He was one of the 3 co-writers of the screenplay, and he was like a producer. He was on set a lot, and the reason for that, we can talk about this, is because he was contractually obligated to be working on E.T., and he couldn't be working on 2 films at the same time. Anyways, all that to say, this has a very stark Steven Spielberg footprint. It's just, I love this film. It's great. So, you've got like 3 acts, 3-act play, and the first act does a really good job of just like setting up like 80s family, like relatable family, smoking weed after the kids go to bed, ha ha ha. And then it starts to get spooky, and then it gets downright scary, in my opinion. Even like to this day, there are things in this. I'm terrified of clowns, probably in large part because of this movie. You know, I will say that there were some things that were different than how I remember, and I was texting you about this, and I think there are some things that you remember differently as well. But yeah, this is just a banger, straight banger.
I do know. Is it my turn?
It's your turn.
Sick. I'd have to agree with a lot of that. You know what's funny? This movie, I was definitely like Mandela affected about something, about things in this movie, because I even remembered the clown scene differently.
Same. I also remembered the clown scene differently.
Yeah. And I was like, where have I seen, like, what have I seen with this? I saw this movie a long time ago for the first time when I was like a pretty young kid. In the era when I kind of started discovering movies, like scary movies, like I saw The Exorcist, which scarred me for life, and then saw things like Halloween, all that kind of stuff. And I saw this before I really recognized what it was or who was involved with it, like Spielberg and stuff. And what's funny is that I remembered this movie as sort of goofy. When I thought about it, I was like, oh, this is kind of a silly movie. And then when I watched it, I was like, this is a great movie.
Yeah. I mean, it is silly. Like, especially the first third is silly.
Yeah. But I think it works. But I also don't even mean the content. I remember just being like a silly little horror movie. But when I watch this movie now,
I see.
I even mean like technically, I was like, this is a meticulously made film.
Yeah.
And then I did not realize until watching it just the other night that it was a Spielberg movie. I literally didn't know. And now, like, watching it, as I watched it, I was like, of course it is. This has got Spielberg written all over it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, I know he didn't direct it, but it just was, it really blew me away. It really did. And I think, yeah, it's not silly. It's got some punch. I think it's great. I really do. Like, this has been a lot of fun because this is substantially better than I remember it being.
Good. I'm glad.
You know what I mean? Like, I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think I can hold it there, and we can do movie in a minute.
Okay.
Zach, can you please just let everybody know what this is, like what I'm about to do, this task that I'm about to partake in?
Okay, so look at me in the fucking eyes right now. This is going on. This is going on Instagram, so that anyone who doesn't know what movie in a minute is, you're gonna find out right now. Mm-hmm. Right now. So, movie in a minute. Hunter has 60 seconds to talk about this movie in its entirety. He's gonna name all the actors, the characters that they play, all the scenes, the name of every single skeleton, like the corpse, everything.
The backstory.
It's gonna be the best. You haven't even seen ghosts like he's going to talk about. He's going to be talking about ghosts. He's going to be talking about movies. He's got 60 seconds to do it.
Are you going to keep that framing the entire time?
What framing? Hunter, I can't blink.
Oh, no.
Hunter, I'm trapped in the gaze of the camera.
You're trapped in your own in your own blue eyes?
I'm looking at the camera. I'm not looking at my blue eyes.
Oh no, this is making me uncomfortable. All right, here we go. I'm gonna do my best while you're staring. All right, I gotta get a nice poof in my hair. I'm not gonna look at you because you're gonna distract me. Here we go. Oh, he's back. He's back. All right, this is Poltergeist in 1 minute. In 3.
You almost said 30 seconds, didn't you?
I didn't know what I was going to say. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so it's the 80s. We got a family, mom, dad, 3 kids. And they're just chilling in suburbia, they're just working, doing whatever. TV, it's after midnight, TV goes to static. This little girl, Carol Ann, thinks that she hears voices in the TV. She's talking to him. The next day, it happens again. There's an earthquake. And then they wake up and she's like, they're here. Then weird stuff starts to happen. Stuff starts to move. People are like, oh, there's a ghost or whatever. Anyway, things go crazy. Carol Ann gets kidnapped by the ghost. She gets sucked into the closet. There's a giant tornado. Things go nuts. They call in this medium to investigate this team. It's like angry spirits. They call in this other lady, this short little lady, and she's like, she has this little voice. Anyway, they have to get Caroline back from the ghost. They do, but they think it's all good. But just kidding, the house goes crazy. The clown attacks the boy, and then they come back. It's because there was on an old cemetery. Then they escape.
Yep.
I was doing really good, and I looked down, and I had 10 seconds, and so I kind of went off the rails there. But hey, that was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Zach.
Good.
Let's do this thing. Let's do this thing.
All right.
I was going to wait and see how long we go without saying anything. What if we did that? What if we just said, let's start, and then just recorded like an hour of silence? And then just said the end. No,
but
and
like
then at the end,
45 minutes in, we both just like ate a hot dog, and so you could just like hear something, and then put it on display. It's like a Andy Warhol thing. You remember when he ate the burger and it was art?
Nope.
You haven't seen Andy Warhol eating a cheeseburger?
No. Should I Google it real fast?
I think that's what it's called, Andy Warhol eating a cheeseburger.
But then, like at the end of the hour, we should just be like, "Hey, is it good?" And we'll just answer and be like, "Yeah."
Yep.
Eating a hamburger. Yeah, this is a thing.
Hamburger. It's 4 minutes and 28 seconds, and he's just eating a hamburger. You don't have to watch it, but it's art.
Man. What a mind. We should do that. We should do that and like put it on the internet, and people might get the reference. Be like, "Oh, they're cool."
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, Poltergeist. So the movie starts with, well, you were saying there's like 3 acts, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are 3 acts to this film.
I would agree with you. What do you think the first act is, Zach?
So the first act is introducing us to the setting we are in. How they pronounce it is like Cuesta Verde. This little suburban
Cuesta Verde.
This little suburban development of houses with different phases, of which Craig T. Nelson plays Stephen Freeling, and he is a realtor selling houses in this development, and the company has provided him with a house. They're all super cookie cutter, and so we get introduced to this setting and the family. He has a wife named Diane, played by JoBeth Williams. They have 3 kids. They have Dana, Robbie, and Carol Ann. In that order, I think that's the order, like descending ages. Yep. And it's just like a quirky little slice of life. You know, there's funny things going on. Little kids just like outside by himself. He's like, I'm gonna climb that fucking tree, and he climbs up it. And Tweety dies, right? And they gotta and Diane, she's not like, oh no, Tweety, you died. She's like, why couldn't you wait until the school day? You know, just like little funny things.
Yep.
Right. What did you think? I don't want to just blaze through this.
No, I was gonna say I really liked. There's like a lot of subliminal like misdirection in
Yeah.
this, where it's like there's like really sweet, beautiful music and this really nice little countryside. Well, actually, we see her talking, but don't we see her talking to the TV first? That's like the first scene, isn't it? It opens up with the American
Yeah.
flag and like the national anthem and stuff. So we see that, and we think she's like, oh, she's being silly or whatever. It could be sci-fi, it could be something.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get this little sweet little music and this beautiful little suburb or whatever. And I like how we, from far, far away, we see this person riding a bike, and the little music's like, it's like, oh, this is a fun this kid's riding a bike. And then we get to him, and it's like a middle-aged man who's bald and carrying beer. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's just like, wait, what is happening?
Right. That's the scene that I was like, this is Spielberg. Because he rides through, and yeah, you're right. You think it's like a kid, like he's about to be throwing papers in yards or something. And it's like this middle-aged man with like a large case of beer. It's like a 30-pack. And he's riding through. And then these kids in the cul-de-sac or whatever start like racing him with these little RC cars.
Yeah.
And I was like, Spielberg. That is... I don't know. That felt extremely Spielberg to me for some reason.
And like there's just hijinks going on. Like they cross paths and make him like crash, and he wrecks his beer, and then he comes in, his beer spewing everywhere, and like
They're watching the game.
yeah. And but it's funny because like I was watching this like in-depth thing, and kind of they were saying that it was intentional to see the remote control cars, things moving with like by themselves, sort of kind of put that in your head, and then like the remotes that kind of work. They're saying like, oh, it's this idea of like this invisible technology, like things that your mind accepts as like it kind of has. It's not magic, obviously, but like these things that can happen. I thought that was really interesting. But yeah, like it's kind of funny, like they had the little remote off battle. I thought it was great. It sets up, it does not feel like a horror movie. It takes its time. Besides the intro where, like she's talking to the TV, it doesn't feel scary at all,
Yeah, and even that isn't necessarily scary at first. To me, it wasn't. It was just like something's going on here, something supernatural. Because sometimes you can have like supernatural movies that aren't like scary. Think about Casper, shit.
Yeah, he's. I've heard he's very friendly.
He's a friendly little ghost.
Yeah. But no, yeah, I think it's really, really good. Like I loved it. It feels super 80s, of course, but it's just wild to me. I guess maybe I hadn't seen this movie in, probably 15 years. But
Really?
But it's unmistakably got Spielberg's fingerprints all over it. Like just the whole vibe to me. Like I felt like, I'm not even kidding. I was like, the kid from The Fabelmans would have made this, and it's true. That's the truth. But but yeah.
You've got the oldest daughter who's up late on the phone when she's not supposed to be, hiding it under her blankets.
Yeah.
And she's like sneaking off. Did you notice like at the end? So she like leaves. Well, we'll get to this part and talk about why but she leaves. And then when she comes back, and it's like, I would say like the second little climax, there's two moments of climax, I would say, in this film, right?
Yep.
And with the second one, she comes back, and she's got this big old hickey on her neck. Like it's clear that she's been out like on a date or something. I don't know. It's just everyone has their own little storyline.
Like she has that line. I thought it was hilarious because I actually didn't notice the hickey, but I thought it was so funny when at the very, very, well, actually, no, it's actually, I think it's before that, where she's like, your dad wants us to stay at the Holiday Inn. And she's like,
I remember that
place. And she's like, you what? I thought that was really funny. But yeah.
It was really funny.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious. Yeah, and it just like, it's funny to me that like the parents aren't oblivious, but they're just like, whatever, like I know. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, like it just feels super like homey and just kind of fun. And but also then there's the weird hand that comes out of the TV.
Yeah, so that happens because there's a storm, right? And they're counting the thunder. It's getting further and further away. But the kids are scared anyway, so they go and sleep in the. And it's little scenes like that I think are like really like charming and funny too. Where it's like like being a parent, where it's like, oh yeah, we took care of this. Haha, they're not gonna come sleep in bed with us. And then it like cuts to the next scene, and they're all in bed together, right?
Yep.
And it does like the post-broadcast static, like the national anthem is like the last thing before the broadcast ends.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I was gonna say because there's gonna for sure generations, probably multiple, because I don't remember that really being a thing for us growing up either. So our generation, and then for sure generation Z or whatever, Gen Zers, and then Haas's generation will grow up. That's gonna be like, what? That was really what it was like. Yeah, at like 2:30 or whatever, they stopped broadcasting shows.
Yeah,
and they played the national anthem.
Sometimes I wish, sometimes I feel like there's too much TV
content, too much content.
But I'm gonna go down a boomer rabbit hole if we go there, so I won't.
But yeah.
But Carol Ann, who the family thinks is like sleepwalking, they don't realize what's actually going on here.
Oh,
right?
yes, that is true. There's a whole little exchange about that where he's rolling blunts, and she's talking about sleepwalking.
Right, and she's like, "What if she falls into the the pool that we're digging, because they're about to dig a pool in the backyard?" Anyways, Carol Ann gets up and starts talking to the TV again, or at least staring at it. I don't know if she talks to it at that time. Then the hand comes out, and it goes like into the wall above the parents' bed, and then there's like pew, 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 pew. And then she says, "They're here." Okay, so Carol Ann scares me. Like she's got like a creepy aura, right?
Yeah, she's got a vibe for sure. You know what's funny? This movie to me, it plays on so many things innocently, but in a way that's really effective.
Mm-hmm.
Because like static, like white noise, and I think it's funny that like we have a sound machine.
Yeah.
And like Hala sleeps in the sound machine, and it's like white noise. But like for a while when you're a kid, at least when I saw this movie, I was like, I don't want to listen to white noise. I don't want to see static because it's scary for some reason.
You don't hear the whispers when you've got the white noise machine on?
Well, now I'm gonna.
Yeah,
but it also plays on this idea of like kids can see, like things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've got eyes.
You bitch! I hate you. I remember I was like babysitting Rowan years ago when she's like 11 now, but when she was like 3 or 4, and like she was playing with her like imaginary friends, and she'd be like, "Yeah, they're right. He's right next to you," and I was like, "I don't like this game anymore."
Really?
Dude, yeah, it's weird, man. I'm sure Hall's gonna be like that. I'd be like, "Bro, who are you talking to? What's happening?"
I remember my nephew Lucas when he was a baby, like 4 months old, 5 months old. And all he could do, like, you still had to support his head, and he would just like fucking stare at you, and he'd be staring at you, and then he'd be smiling and having a good time, and then all of a sudden he would like look right behind you and just like get a fear of horror.
Yeah, dude, Hollis has done that. Like Hannah saw me once where he was like talking to her, like looked over her head and was like talking, and she was like, "What are you? Who are you talking to?" Yeah, it's weird, man. Yeah. Like, and like dogs, like when the dog's looking at the wall. Dude, you remember when we were in my parents' basement and Dexter was like barking at the door, and we were like, "You want to go to Target? Let's go to Target."
Yeah, we went to Target. Were we home alone? Like, were we at your house?
Yeah, it was
like,
just us.
Nobody was there.
It was just
down
us,
in the basement. Nothing but darkness. Can you hear Athena?
Is she drinking water again?
Yeah, she's thirsty. She's thirsty, girl.
Anyway.
She just farted, got up, and started drinking water.
She's living the life, man. Good for her. But no, I just think it's so funny to me that I thought this movie was like a silly, goofy film, but it's really good. She's so loud, man. Tell her to stop. Can you still not see me?
No, I can't see you.
That's so funny. Anyway, well, yeah. So then things start getting like even like the trees, like it plays on the fear of like shapes and shadows and thunderstorms. I think I was really clever, like what this movie plays on and kind of how it creates its tension, I guess, if you will. You know what I mean? It's not just like, now, like even when stuff's moving about the house, it's like really, it's not being like, this is supposed to be scary, because then it becomes like the mom's like, look, we can be playing games with these ghosts versus she's like sliding, you know what I'm saying? Like,
she was cracking me up. She threw the heaviest shade on her husband when he walked in.
Yes.
And he was like,
yes.
what is this written on the ground? Like, what is going on here? And she like grabbed him and she was like, okay, do you remember when you used to have an open mind?
Yeah. Well, she says like, remember when we first started dating and you had some semblance of an open mind? I was like, damn, like, ouch.
Oh goodness.
But yeah, like like that's not even like, it's weird. You're like, oh man, something's in the house. But then it's like, it's kind of like when she's like being funny about it, like, you don't think anything of it. But yeah, then the storm comes. And that's when, I'm trying to think. So like, storm comes. She says
there's at least two storms. There might be three storms.
So the first storm is when she's like, they're here.
Correct.
And then that next night is when the storm comes again. And like it sets up the clown, like you think.
The clown is the first night when he throws the blanket over the clown's head. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's fine.
And I would like to say,
oh dude, this espresso's hitting me.
My remembrance of this film, because I've seen it more recently than you have, but it's probably been 3 or 4 years. And I guess it's just because I don't like clowns. And so when I see the clown, I'm like, oh yeah, that's going to come into play. I thought that it came into play much sooner than it ends up coming into play.
Same.
Right? Like I thought that it was before the giant, like, spirit uterus situation.
Okay. Yep. That's a way to put it.
Well, I mean, what do you...
That's true. That's no. But
we'll talk about like rebirth and stuff, because I mean they come out and they're covered in pink goo. I mean, come on. Yeah. But
you can go. Sorry.
You go.
I was gonna say, I also remember this scene happening differently.
Okay.
Like, I don't know if have you seen the like remake that came out like 10 years ago?
No.
I haven't either, but maybe I'm not sure if this is from that. I'm not sure where it is, but like I thought it was like he hears it move, like it rattles or whatever, it like rustles, and then he looks back and it's like a little closer each time. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like in his bed. I thought for sure that's how it happened, but no.
No, that happens in a movie. I can't think of what movie that happens in. But I do remember when the scene happens, he tries to throw the blanket over. This is exactly what happens.
Yeah,
I'm just going to talk about the scene now. Tries to throw the blanket over it, doesn't cover his face, and then like he like turns and then turns back and it's gone. And it's just gone. It strangles
and then he looks
him.
on the bed, and then but like there's like little things where like he comes back up and it's behind him, and you see it for a split second, but its face is all like creepy now. And you see it just long enough to like think you're like, oh, it's you know what I'm saying? Like that's really good, practically speaking. But yeah, then we kind of enter phase 2 of the movie, Act 2. Where she gets abducted. He gets abducted by the tree, and
apparently the tree that they used on set was like covered in fake thorn. Like it's a fake tree. It's like a set prop, but they covered it in thorns to make it look spooky. And it was like actually hurting them as they were like climbing on it and like trying to get him out and stuff.
Ouch.
Fun.
That sounds. Anyway, it almost eats him. Dude,
Does.
I gotta be honest with you. I feel wired as hell right now. I don't drink caffeine.
Yeah. You had an espresso.
I don't drink caffeine, and now I had a Nespresso, which I guess has espresso in it. I don't know. But I feel like I could run through this wall. I'm probably not going to drink the rest of this. Just do it.
Is that an exterior wall?
No.
I see a window. Is that not an exterior wall?
Well, this wall is. The wall in front of me is not.
Okay. I got you. If you ran through the wall in front of you, you'd be running through Hannah's computer desk, right?
Well, it'd be mine right now, but yeah, because hers is in a different room because they moved everything around. Doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know if I get crazy, that's what's happening.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Hey, your video's back. I was just talking about your window, and I just realized that you're back. That's hilarious. I don't know when you came back, but I see you.
That's so funny. Anywho, yeah, so then she gets like sucked into the closet. And I love the scene. I don't love it because it's terrifying, but like they sell it so well. Like the scene when they realize that she's missing, dude.
Mm-hmm.
The like terror, the terror in them is just palpable, and they're like, it feels like their anxiety and their fear is like they're wearing it because they're all covered in mud and they're just like torn to, they're ripped up and they're dirty and stuff, and it just feels like that scene, at least for me, I guess as a parent, I was just like, that is horror. That is the worst nightmare, where you don't know where they are.
Well, we were talking about like how Act 1 sort of like plays on like a child's fears of like the dark or this clown in the bedroom or the tree outside the window or the storm or whatever. But I think what differentiates this from like other horror films that do this, because in those other horror films, I feel like the parents like go away and then the kids just have to deal with this scary shit, right? But we see the parents and their fear of like, oh shit, maybe we should have listened to our kids. And like, oh shit, where's my daughter? What's going on? Trying to figure out what's happening and not wanting to leave and all that kind of stuff. I think they do a really good job.
I think it's really, really good. And there's an inherent like empathy that people have. I think most people have when they see kids, like children are in danger or whatever. And so like a giant tree reaching through the window and pulling a kid out can sound silly. But when you see like the kid's fear, you're like, oh my God, he's helpless. Like somebody help him. You know what I mean?
Their neighbors don't have any empathy.
Zero. Ben sucks.
Ben does suck. And Ben's son is an idiot. I don't remember what they ask him, but he like goes over there to ask him if they've had any strange disturbances. And they're like, you ever been bit by a mosquito, son? And his son looks at him and goes, I don't know. And it's like, how do you not know if you've been bit by a mosquito? Dumbass.
Yeah. I do love that scene actually, because are they high?
So I read an interview about this, and when they were performing the scene, their read of it was that it was just such a ridiculous request that they were and they were so like startled by what was going on in their home that they were just kind of in hysterics. But they said it makes total sense to read that they're high, and it would make sense within the context of the film that they smoked a bowl before going over to ask to like soothe their anxiety. So maybe.
I thought whatever it was, I thought it came out. I thought it was really funny.
Yeah, it was.
But anyway, so how long? Do we know how long she's gone for? Because we cut to them
at least a few nights, because it takes the parapsychologist a while to get there, presumably, right, with her crew. And then there's multiple nights that they're just like hanging out in the house trying to fix things. Yeah. So,
but like the dad is like depressed. I mean, everyone is like, you see like a drastic change in everybody.
It's been a couple weeks, I think, because his boss comes and he's like, "You've been out of work for a few weeks, and we're getting worried about you. You've had the flu, blah 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 blah." And that's when they have the conversation. And this is where we can talk about the next Mandela effect thing where
Yes.
so he's essentially saying you're our best salesman. You sold like 42% of the houses here. You know, we can't lose you. He's thinking that this guy's just quiet quitting.
Yeah.
Back in the 80s before it was termed, he's just like quiet quitting and like he's found a new opportunity or something.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's trying to keep him, and he's talking about, you know, and he brings him up on this hill, and he's like, this could be your view. This could be your backyard. You could have a little fucking barbecue pit, whatever you want, buddy. And he's like, oh, cool. What
it's
about
the 80s, man. Things are good.
Yeah. Cool. What about the cemetery that's right there? And he's like, oh, we'll move it, just like we moved the other one. And then he's like, what'd you say? He's like, yeah, we moved a cemetery. It's not like we built it on an Indian burial ground, which, Hunter,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about you, but I thought they did. I thought one of like the main premise of this movie was that they did build it on an Indian burial ground. And I did some research online, and a lot of people are under that assumption. So why do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm trying to think because I would have bet money on it. I thought for sure this was like, yeah, they built it on an Indian burial ground. That's what happened. But do you know what I think it was? And it's going to be ridiculous.
Okay.
This is all I can think of. Because I saw this movie so long ago that I'm not surprised that maybe I was incorrect or it was influenced by something else. But Family Guy did a spoof.
No, I don't. I reject this. I know what you're talking about. They did a spoof of this episode.
And they have like an Indian skull or something like that.
I reject.
That's all I can think of. But I don't know because I thought for sure.
I think it's the fact that building something on an Indian burial ground and it becoming haunted was like a trope in 80s horror films. So like Pet Sematary
Yep.
has an Indian burial ground. That's the only example I can think of off the top of my head. There's others, I promise. But like it's a trope in the 80s with the horror films.
Have you ever seen one before?
Well, no. Well, what about up in Helen? You know, you when you're driving in Helen and you drive by that big mound, is that a burial mound?
I think so. If that's the one that, if you're thinking of what I'm thinking of, there's one in North Georgia. Yeah, that has like a little thing, like a little thing on top of it. Like it almost looks like a gazebo, but it's not. But it's like a.
I think they got rid of the gazebo, but yes,
So now
that's
it's just like a
exactly where I'm
mound?
talking about. That's like right up by Helen,
Yeah.
on the way to Cabin 49.
Cabin 49. There you go. If you know, you know.
If you know, you
But
know.
yeah, I think it's funny because like, it's just like the Berensteins or Berenstein or Bernstein, whatever bears, where it's like, I was like you, where I was like, oh yeah, of course this has the Indian burial ground, but it doesn't.
Well, it's funny that you
explicitly
say
says it doesn't.
It's funny that you say Berenstein because it's actually Berenstain. And that's the effect, right? Is that it's actually Berenstain bears.
Stein,
we all think
whatever.
It's AIN instead of EIN, and we all think it's EIN.
Is it really? I thought it was Bernstein or Berenstein. Berenstain?
Google it right now.
Do it.
Berenstain bears.
Wow.
And it always has been, and it always will be. But we all think collectively, you, me, Nelson Mandela, we all think that it's Berenstein.
That's funny. But no, yeah, I was like, it's funny to me because it explicitly says, oh, it's not an Indian burial ground. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, then we get the paranormal team comes in, and I really loved this whole sequence where they're investigating it, and the guy's like, I once saw like a car move 7 feet across the floor. It took 7 hours.
Yeah.
And he's like,
Yeah.
that's nuts, man. And then they get to this house, and they're like, they open the door, and it's just like, what the hell?
What's funny is I remember this sequence where they're talking about, you know, what they're looking for and blah, 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 blah. As a child, I thought it was boring as shit. Like, I didn't care about it. I guess I didn't understand, like, what they were talking about, and I didn't think it was, like, funny or anything. As an adult, this was really interesting. Like, it really was, right?
Super good. Yeah. But yeah, just like all the stuff where like even they're sitting down talking at the table and they're just like, well, you know, it's not quite as easy to determine if your house is haunted, and like the things just start moving, and she's just sort of like,
Right.
I thought it was really good. And that's when she even says like you could have a haunting or you have a poltergeist, and that's like that's the title, bro.
It's the title of the movie. Shit.
It's the title of the movie. Oh my god.
And what's the difference between a haunting and a poltergeist, Hunter?
A haunting has to do with, is it the location?
Mm-hmm. A place.
And a poltergeist has to do with the people, right?
And a haunting can last forever, or at least like a really long time, whereas a poltergeist usually the spooky shit stops happening after a little while.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that they can communicate with Carol Ann.
Right, through the TV. Oh man, when her brother Robbie, right?
Oh yeah, I know what you're about to say.
He was just like screaming like, "Mom, Mom!" Ah! And it annoyed me. Is that what you thought I was going to say?
No, that actually wasn't what I thought you were going to say. But that actually, I'm glad you say it because that is annoying. For some reason in the movie, I'm like, dude, you gotta speak words, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just like, and I get it, like he's in hysterics, but I'm just like, I'd be like, what? What, Robbie? What are you trying?
Slaps.
Say it. But I was gonna say, there's that scene where he's talking about like he's like, if I die, can I go see Carol Ann? I was like, oh, right. Dude, that's.
And can I show her where to, or like if you tied me to a rope, could I go and get her and then bring her back and show her the way back?
I was like, yes, actually, you can. That's what happens.
You can, yeah.
But that seems great, you know, like, because it kind of brings back full circle where like when Tweety dies and she's having to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Caroline be like, oh, you know, Tweety, you know, has to go, you know, and she's like, here's a blanket for nighttime. And did you hear a ghost?
I heard something, but I have neighbors, so I don't think it's a ghost. I just, sometimes I'll just hear something bang into the wall.
But then it comes back to where like the paranormal lady is. Did something scare you?
No. What?
Oh. Where she's talking about, you know, like, she has this nice conversation about after death and everything, and it's really touching. It's really, really nice. And actually, the way that she explains it is very much easier to understand. But then they set up all the cameras and stuff, and then we see all the ghosts, right? Don't we? We see all this, that big event happens.
We see a bunch of like Raiden-looking motherfuckers just like walking in a line.
Mm-hmm. And then this is when we get to the like really practical, because I know we're already going long. It's already almost an hour, but we get to the dude, he like tears his face off.
Yo, that scene. Well, first he's like, I'm gonna go get something to eat, and so he goes to the kitchen, which is one of the locations of the Paranormal Activity, and he didn't know that, or maybe he did. Maybe it was his job to know that. Anyways, he goes in there and he grabs like a piece of chicken and a steak. The steak's got maggots, the chicken's got maggots, and then he goes in the bathroom to like throw up, tears his face off. It's fucking lit.
And that's the thing too, is like the effects in this movie. This is a really good actually follow up to Dracula because of the practical effects and stuff, and like they're just. I get that. There's probably a generation of people who would be like, "Oh, this looks like shit," and it's just like. You don't know, man. Like, this is groundbreaking stuff, and it's really, especially that kind of in-camera stuff, is just super good, man. It's super, super effective. And he bails. That guy doesn't come back.
Correct. He's
leaves. Like, I'm done.
Well, imagine if you were eating a steak and it was maggoty. I wouldn't want to go back to those people's house. Like, get some fresh meat.
Yeah. It's not the fact that he tore his face off in the mirror.
No.
That's like a normal everyday occurrence. And then they bring in, what's her name?
The medium?
Tangina Barons?
Yeah. Played by Zelda Rubinstein.
Yeah, she's great, man. She is great in this movie. Uh, so committed to like who her character is.
Mm-hmm.
I love the scene where the dad is like thinks she's full of shit, you know,
So he's
and he's
trying
like
to talk to her with his mind.
Yeah, and it's unclear if she actually can read his mind or if she just heard him whispering very loudly. But her response, where he's like, "What does he say?" Something like I thought she was some acclaimed medium, and she's like, "I am. I just don't like trick answers." And he's just like,
Mm-hmm.
"I thought that was, you know, it's great." But there's one scene that I want to talk about that I thought was brilliant, not only content wise and like what it's doing, but like framing and filmmaking, you know. And it's a scene where they're like in the hallway and she's trying to talk to Carol Ann and she's like, she's being restrained and they're all trying to talk. And the way it's framed is like they're all in frame. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're looking down the hallway, they're all in frame. And they each kind of have to come forward and kind of say their piece and they're talking and it's emotional. But they all stay in frame.
Yeah.
It's such a good shot. It's like one long take. It's such a good shot. And it gets super emotional to where she's like, who is she most afraid of? Not like in like a scary way, but like, is it the mom or dad? And they're like having to admit that and be like, well, he's a disciplinary person. And like I don't know. And she's like, the mom's calling out, like, go to the light. And she's like, I hate you for this. It's just really good. It's such a good scene. I thought it was really, really great.
Mm-hmm.
I
Was a good scene.
I thought I'd point that out. I just thought it was really great. Really great.
Thank you for pointing that out. And it reminds me to talk about, so they have to go in and get Carol Ann because otherwise she's just going to die if she goes to the light. So it's determined that, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's determined that Carol Ann is surrounded by a bunch of like ghosts that don't really have like terrible intentions, but she's also in the presence of the devil. Right?
Yeah, I guess. But there's a lot of ghosts who are like lost, who don't even know that they're dead.
Correct. Right.
And
then the devil.
Yeah, need help getting to the light to cross over. And then, yes, the devil, or like a demon, essentially.
They say the beast.
Yeah, well, that is true. And they're drawn to the fact that she is living, you know, that she is
Life
of
force.
the living. And, yeah, I also think that scene where they go into the room and the closet is like, there's the strobe light, the crazy lights are going on. Like, that's in camera. Like, you can tell all of that is like practical effects. That's so badass. Like, I think it's super awesome. But yeah, then the mom goes in and they get her out. And you wanted to mention rebirth, right? Because they're birthed.
Well, they're literally like, what's the method of at-home birth where you do it in a bathtub?
I don't know, but
you
I know
know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, there's a term for it.
They do that because they come out, they're covered in pink goo,
Like
and
when you need to
they
have a
put
doula or whatever.
What?
Isn't that what, like the person who helps you?
Oh, I don't know. I've never had a
At-home
baby.
birth. Oh, a midwife.
Okay, yeah.
I think it's just called a
better.
home birth. I think it's just called a home birth.
Okay, and then they put them in the bathtub, and they're like saying like breathe, you know, and it's literally like they're reborn, right?
Yeah.
The mom's looking like Sindel.
Yeah, I was about to say she comes out with like a gray streak in her hair.
Mm-hmm.
But it's all too good to be true. So that's like, you think that's the end of the movie. Like, you're like, oh, okay. Like she says, this house is clean. I always think of Ace Ventura. Have you seen that little spoof that he does?
You're right, he does. I was like, what happens in Ace Ventura?
This house, I think he says clear, but yeah, this house is clear. Yeah, they're like packing up, moving, which good for them. Things like getting the heck out of here. But then another storm comes, I think, right?
Another storm comes.
Yeah.
And Steven is gone. He's doing something, like making arrangements.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he has to go to the office, pick some things up, and he comes back with his boss in the car, which I don't know. I guess just so his hot boss could have horror on his face, right? But so Diane and the kids, well, two of the kids, are at home, and Diane takes a bath and gets out of the bath, and she's on the bed in her undies, and the clown scene happens. Oh shit!
Clown scene happens, and then you're like, wait a second. I thought this house was clean.
Right.
And they're like, nope.
It's obviously not clean. But keep in mind that like when they were doing the extraction, if you will, Steven like prematurely pulled on the rope, right? And she was like, "No, it's too soon. It's too soon." So I was confused why she said the house was clean. Like I thought something had gone wrong.
Yeah.
Turns out
something had.
I was correct. And you were too, Hunter, because I know you had the same assumption when you were watching it.
Same assumption. But yeah, the clown. What? Sorry. So the clown scene happens.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And hold on. Is this? I think it escalates like pretty quickly. Right, so the clown happen.
It does.
He's getting like
he's
choked
being
under the
choked,
bed,
and Diane hears it.
Yes,
and gets thrown up against the wall. And I want to talk about the turning room. Like
yes, that is awesome.
That's a really
scene.
cool.
That is super cool.
Do you want to talk about it?
So talk about it.
No, you talk about it. I want to hear you talk about it because you love practical. Do you know what they did? I mean, they literally built a revolving set.
Is it like the hallway at Inception where like the whole set's rotating?
Correct. So the entire set is rotating. The cameraman is like locked into place, I guess. So he's actually like upside down for a lot of it, you know. And they're rotating the room. The difference between this and like the Inception scene is that in Inception, JoBeth.
Yeah. I think that's like stationary camera, right? And it's like we're just watching it spin.
Sure, but just the fact that it's rotating and we're watching JoBeth like fly around the room. JoBeth is wearing like a suit, so he can have like padding in his suit. Mm. She's in her underwear, so she's just like being battered by the walls.
Yeah, as
they're like rotating, and they did like 50 takes, and she was like bleeding all over the place. Maybe not all over the place, but she was bleeding. And Steven Spielberg, who was on set, said. It won't show on camera. It's okay. And she was like, oh, good. I'm glad it won't show on camera. She was telling him because she was bleeding, not because she was afraid it would show on camera. Anyways.
Ruthless. But no, that scene is phenomenal because I'm trying to think. Does it look like the room spinning or it just looks like she's just being tossed around?
It looks like she's levitating up the wall and then levitating across the ceiling. Because the camera's stationary, so you can't tell that the room's turning.
Yeah, that's so cool.
The camera is on the floor, just like...
Man, that makes me sad. That makes me sad because I just thought of the phrase movie magic, and that's movie magic.
Yeah, for sure.
Now it's like...
Green screen.
I saw a picture the other day, and I mentioned this in my shindig about Marvel and their TV shows, but I saw a picture of... Nick Fury, I think it was from Secret Invasion. I haven't watched it. But he's sitting in an office. Okay, he's sitting in an office holding a pistol. And then it showed the behind the scenes, and it's a damn green screen. He's sitting in a chair in front of a green screen, and his gun is like a mock-up with like little dots on it. So they CG'd the rest of the gun. And I was like, guys, that is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, you have this movie where they rotated an entire set.
Well, think about how expensive it is to CG just like a picture of him in the office versus like just putting him in an office.
Yeah. It's insane, man. Like in this, between Dracula and this, and then we're going to do, we haven't announced it, but after Flower Moon, we're going to do The Shining. Like just it's just so. There's nothing magic about a green screen to me anymore. It's like that's just digital. But like to rotate this set, but film it in a way that looks like to our eyes it's still is brilliant. It's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's badass, man. That's so cool.
Yes, it's extremely badass. It's a really cool scene.
I remember doing my short film. This is a little mini tangent where I have this scene where at the very end, it's about depression and this guy's at a party and it's meant to show isolation. So like we see this party, right? It's this long one take shot where we see this party. We see him in the corner when we pass all these people, but then we see him and we turn around, and when we turn around, the room's empty.
Yeah.
And then we come back to him and he's still sitting there. And it just worked out that like the layout of the house was that everybody could kind of like hide. And I thought that was the coolest shot I've like ever. And I was this is so cool.
I remember you discussing like the logistics of while they're turning, everyone has to like hide and like get in their little spot. And like you were like so fucking psyched about it. And it was awesome.
And it's one of those that like I didn't even plan it, but because we were on set and we had a set and I saw the layout of the house, I was like, oh, we should try this. But if you ever want to get blown away,
right?
Like,
you're not gonna do that with CGI, right?
Yeah,
you're not gonna have those organic moments of like, oh shit, let's try this because we have this in front of us.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, that's fine. But like, go on YouTube and watch. There's like a breakdown. There's a really famous episode of Haunting of Hill House.
Oh yeah.
Where like almost, I think like 80%.
It's like one take the whole fucking episode. Yeah, or it feels like it at least.
It's like 80% of the episode is like one take. And what's crazy is that it goes between different timelines and places. And so they built this crazy set, and just go watch how that was shot. And like people are running around. It's crazy. And it's just like, ugh.
Now I really want to watch Haunting of Hill House. At least now I have a puppy to cuddle with me. First time I watched it, I just watched it like alone. Dude, that shit scared the shit out of me.
That is a great show. That is a phenomenal show.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful because it has catharsis. Like, I don't know. Anyways, let's come back to this because we're running a little long. But there's a couple more things I want to talk about because the whole fucking house gets crumbled up into little like paper ball. And
but then so he comes back with his boss, and you know the mom is trying to get to her kids, and she gets like thrown out into the pool or whatever, and then like bodies start popping up, and then full on caskets start popping up, and you're like, oh, cemetery. And so the dad gets back, and shit's going crazy, and he sees his boss, who again is there for some reason. But then he grabs him and he's like, you didn't move the bodies, did you? You didn't move the bodies. And so that's like, oh, this is real. This is like, the bodies are just like floating up, which
right.
Have you heard the story of like Lake Lanier? So we live in Georgia, right? We live in the Atlanta area.
Yeah.
There's no natural lakes in the state of Georgia. Fun fact.
Not a one.
And the biggest lake in Georgia is Lake Lanier. So they're all man-made. They flooded a town.
Right. There's still buildings under there.
If you go at the bottom of Lake Lanier, there's buildings, there's houses. There has been known to have a body float up from time to time. That's happened. Where like caskets that didn't get moved have floated up in Lake Lanier. So I was like, that can happen. That's real.
Sure. Yeah.
Especially if you're digging up for a swimming pool or whatever, like that's crazy. But yeah, then the whole house gets like sucked into a black hole. Yeah.
Can I tell you about something interesting from the production of the
Please.
film? I don't know why I worded that weirdly, but so JoBeth Williams, when she was filming that scene, so the mud that they used, it was peat. Do you know what peat is? It's a type of mud. Anyways, after a while, it starts to smell like shit. So it just like it's stinky. So she's in this like pool of mud with these like skeletons and stuff, and it just smells awful. And she just remembers it being like terrifying and like not having a fun time. Anyways, fast forward like a year, and maybe she was working on another project or something, and it was one of the like practical effects like stage hands, right? And she was like, how'd y'all make those skeletons look so real? And he was like, those were corpses. Those were real bodies. So those were real bodies. Those were actual like skeletons in the mud pool with her.
That's horrifying.
Which is crazy when you think about like the take home message of the film, which is like don't build like don't desecrate the dead, essentially.
Yeah, and they did.
And then they used like actual corpses for the movie.
Well, that's
I don't know,
like Apocalypse Now, where they tried to use actual dead bodies.
Right.
I guess this one succeeded. But yeah, dude, it's a great, like, it's great. It's great. It's a really great ending. And again, for some reason, it felt so silly when I first, like, in my memory, but it's actually super good.
Mm-hmm.
But it still knows its humor. Like the very last shot of the scene, I thought it was really funny. Where they're all just like, they're all exhausted and beaten and battered, and they go to this hotel, and they go in, and then the last thing you see is he wheels out the TV, and it's just a nice little kicker, like it's just fun and it knows what it is. I thought it's phenomenal. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You said that
it was phenomenal. No, that was the main thing I wanted to talk about was the fact that it was real bodies. I mean, we can mention, there are a few films in Hollywood that are considered to be like haunted because people who have worked on them have had untimely deaths. So Dominique Dunne, who played Dana, the oldest daughter, just like a few months after the release of the film, she was killed by her ex-boyfriend.
Yep.
And then Heather O'Rourke, who played Carol Ann, who, by the way, took home the goldfish. Like from the movie set, she kept it as a pet. This was years later. She had filmed both Poltergeist 2 and Poltergeist 3, but she passed away from like a rare birth defect that they didn't catch. So I don't know if it's like a cursed thing. It's not like other cursed movie things that we've talked about, I think.
Yeah. No, that's that's there's stuff like isn't like the what's it, the movie The Crow was one.
Yeah. Well, we've
like
talked about that on this podcast.
Yep. Yeah, no, I didn't watch it, but I saw a video earlier today about like why it was cursed, and I meant to watch it, but I didn't have time. It adds to the mystique, I guess, of the film. But Zach, we've reached that point.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question, Hunter, if I may.
Please do. You may.
So, don't sew your butt. But is Poltergeist good?
It is phenomenal. It is if you haven't seen this movie in years, watch it because it is so much better than you remember. Dare I say this might be a golden oldie? Maybe.
It might be. I think yeah. I mean, it has to be. I mean, fuck.
Yeah.
This is Poltergeist. Yeah, this is a golden oldie. I know we've been throwing a lot of golden oldies out there.
We have. We're gonna have.
And we're probably going to be throwing more in the next
2 weeks.
In a couple weeks, we're going to throw another one. But this has to be. I mean, yeah.
This is a good one. Well, why did I just do that? I just closed my browser. Well, there you go, Zach. That's Poltergeist. But now it's time for Every Movie Sucks. Poltergeist.
Every movie sucks. Every movie sucks.
Sorry, I closed out my browser.
Every movie sucks. That's okay. Let me pull it up. I had it pulled up. I always pull up Letterboxd, but I don't go to the lowest reviews. So it's like it takes me 2 loading screens to get to where I need to get to. Okay, so Michelle Rob Wills says, I think this is the worst movie I've ever seen. Call me out if you ever see me write this on another review. Okay.
That's funny. So you need to go see if they've written that on another review.
I'm looking. You are going to do like 4 reviews, and I give you permission to do so because I'm looking.
Okay. Tima says, cringe. I'm going to try and count it correctly. Half star. Cringe, 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 cringe. Oh, wait, actually, they misspelled one. So it says cringe, 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 cringe. That's the entire review. Let's see here. I'm going to find another one.
Michelle's only reviewed like 4 movies, by the way. So
this is okay. I'll do this with Will Holton. Then you can do 2. Half star. This movie is horrendous dog shit, and I'm not sorry.
The other movies that she's reviewed are all like animal themed. So there was a 2018 movie called Possum. Ooh, that looks weird. There was a 1975 film called Hedgehog in the Fog. Huh. Anyways,
What was her review of it?
just think what it would be like to be a hedgehog. Then the stories we tell the boys after. Crazy.
Wait, what?
Now I'm curious. Can we do Hedgehog in the Fog
Sure, I'd love to.
one day?
Um,
Looks like an animated film.
let me see here. Half star. This is Mick Employee. This movie sucks so bad. Damn. Wait. This movie sucks so damn much. How the hell do you get any enjoyment out of this?
Cobra Verde says, what a god-awful sentimental movie, replete with typical Spielbergian bombastic musical cues telling you how to feel. You just use big words and think you know things, and you don't.
Yeah. I've got one more. Or
They give Fight Club 1 star. Those
Come on.
bitches.
Here we go. This is Joby. The tone of this movie was not what I expected. Also, that part where those adult construction workers catcall the teenage daughter and the mom blasted off. That was pretty neat. I'm so sorry, but this movie can eat my ass.
Damn.
Okay, I'm done. You can do one more.
Let's see here. Horrible. Why is this a cult classic? Says Zara.
Well, Zara, you don't have to like it. Every movie sucks. Zach, it's
Don't
time
have
for
to like it.
shindigs.
It's time for shindigs.
And we'll be quick because we've gone way over this time. But hey, I've got some news of the week. Do you care? You want to know?
I do care.
Amazing. So here's the big news. Did I already say this? No. The big news is that Variety has reported that Zack Snyder's Justice League cast, they're officially all being recast. So Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller are not going to be returning as the Flash and Aquaman. They're all being recast, which I think is the best move. But,
Yeah.
But Momoa is apparently in talks to play a new character in the DCU, which everybody kind of knows is going to be Lobo. But also I found out that apparently, because he hates Amber Heard, I guess, he testified against her. Apparently, he would get to set for Aquaman 2 drunk and dressed like Johnny Depp, which I thought was hilarious. So that's a thing.
Okay.
Marvel is apparently resetting their approach to television shows, which I think is a good thing because their TV shows, I don't care about them. Nobody does. Apparently, they're bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are completely rewriting and redoing. They're doing a Daredevil show. They're restarting that, and they're gonna. Apparently, none of these shows had pilots. They just signed millions of dollars over them, so they're gonna reapproach everything. We got our first trailer for Zac Efron and Jeremy Allen White's movie about the Von something family. I can't remember, wrestling family, the Iron Claw. We get Willy Wonka character posters. That's happening. Emma Stone and Nathan Fielder star in the new trailer for Showtime's The Curse. The MonsterVerse show Monarch Legacy of Monsters is certified fresh at 90%. Apparently it's good. And then the big news, which is bittersweet, is that Sir Michael Caine is retiring from acting.
Yep.
He has a new film coming out called The Great Escaper, which apparently is very good. He plays the lead. But he is going to be focusing on writing novels.
Cool.
Also, I saw this today, but the Actors Guild and the studio's negotiations have fallen apart again. So that's still going on.
So the writers are back. The actors are not.
Actors are not. There you go, Zach. Are you doing one last brave minute, or are you just going to let it die?
We can do a Braves minute, I guess. This is a safe space for any Braves fan who's feeling some type of way after another disappointing exit from the postseason after a historic season. So the reason it's so upsetting to me, I think, and Hunter, tell me if you feel this way as well. I don't think I would be as upset if we were like a 85 win team, 95 win team. The fact that our offense was so prolific throughout the entire season, like literally set records, regarded as possibly one of the best Braves teams of all time, contending with some of the like 90s teams that were just like so phenomenal, right?
Their offense was close to, if not on par with, the 1927 Yankees, which is considered the greatest baseball team of all time.
The greatest team of all time, right?
Yep.
But keep in mind that this is the Braves, and all those teams, those Braves teams in the 90s, only one of them went the distance, even though, you know,
three of them went. Only one of them won.
Went the distance, yeah, finished the race.
Yeah.
Those other two
I don't know if you knew that,
didn't
but
finish the race.
Well, they got to the World Series.
Sure.
But then like I think in the two ones that they lost, well, one went 7 games, but then another 1 or 2. But the Yankees, they got like their ass kicked. But continue.
Yeah. But the fact that we were so prolific on offense specifically, like it'd be one thing if like we scored 28 fucking runs and still lost because our pitching wasn't there. Like that'd be a pill that we could swallow as well. But we scored what, like 7 runs the entire series?
8 runs.
8
8
runs
in 4 games.
That's wild for the Braves. And for it to happen 2 years in a row with the same opponent, a divisional rival, the Phillies, who I have grown to absolutely loathe, and who during the season you were like, they're our rival. And I was like, no, they're not. We're destroying them. You know, they're our rival, Hunter. You're right.
Yeah.
I wish you hadn't put it out into the universe.
I saw a thing that said that the Braves Phillies is the new best rivalry in baseball.
It's a pretty good rivalry. It really is.
Because one team dominates the regular season and the other team dominates the postseason, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way it goes. But it makes me, and I love the Braves. You know I do. And you know I'm going to support them for until the end of time, which could be in like 10 years. We don't know. But it makes me question, like we have a great core locked up for like 8 years. But if they all, like, if we can't push through, is that the core that we want?
Dude,
you know what I mean? Like, it
funny?
raises questions.
No, listen. When did you start liking baseball? It will be quick, because it's been like an hour and a half.
2018.
Okay. So I grew up with the 14 straight NL East division titles. Do you know how many playoff series they won in those years?
Not many.
None.
But that's insane.
No, actually, not none. That's not true. But they, from like 2002 to like 2020, they did not win a single postseason series. So this is not new. They are kind of known for this, unfortunately.
I know it's not new, but it's a new era of the Braves. You know,
it was supposed
Bobby
to
Cox
be, yes.
Bobby Cox has retired. Snit comes in. We've got Alex Anthopoulos, and we've quickly, I would say, relatively quickly compared to the Braves of old, built a team that is set up for success for like 6 to 8 years, like legitimately.
Yep.
And so to have that, like that length of consistency, and for this to be happening makes me think, is this the core we want for 6 to 8 years? I love all the guys.
Well, what's funny is that the past 2 years are the first 2 years of where we've kind of reverted back to the Braves of old, of like we dominate the season and then we fall apart. Because think about it, from like 19, 20, 21, 19 and 20, they got to the NLCS, right?
Correct.
And it was the fabled Dodgers.
How are we going backwards?
And then 21, we won the whole thing. So I don't know.
How are we moving backwards? It's disappointing. It's frustrating.
Yeah. So what are you going to do during the offseason during your Braves Minute? What's your shindig?
We'll talk about the Hawk season starting like next week, so we can do Hawks Minute.
We'll just do the Atlanta Sports Minute.
Atlanta Sports Minute. That's right.
There you go. Well, Zach, I must say one last time until spring. That was very brave of you.
It's the bravest thing I'll do this entire winter. Fall / winter.
Time for whiskey shots?
Yeah, because I want the whiskey shits tomorrow.
Yeah, so are we going to drink a lot? Is that what's happening? I'm going to do a small shot because I keep pouring myself a big shot and I don't know why. Small shot. That's too much. Oh well. Zach's dancing on camera. You know that when you do this and I talk about what you're doing, I leave it in. So you're just dancing? Are you just drinking straight from the bottle? I'm not going to describe what you're doing.
I'm back.
All right. You ready? To whiskey. Bottoms up.
To whiskey. Shit. Okay, where can they find us, Hunter?
You can find us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Bud is a Good Podcast. Find us on X at BIIG Podcast. You can email us at biigpodcast@gmail.com, at budisagoodpodcast@gmail.com, or budisagood@gmail.com. And you can follow me, if you want to, everywhere, at Hunter Callahan Music. Follow Zach on Instagram at Zach with an H, to the number, the THA, future.31. And next week, we're going to do Killers of the Flower Moon. And then we will revert back to spooky season. And we're going to do The Shining to end the month. That's all I got. I really have to pee, so I'm going to hang up.
Yeah, let's go pee.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. But is it good podcast? Yeah.